work cooperatively as investigators and solve mysterious cases in Gotham City in Batman, Everybody Lies. Thank you for joining me here at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Kevin Delp. Batman Everybody Lies is a crime-solving deduction game for 2 to 4 players set in the Batman comics universe. The game comes with 4 scenarios. The first one is more of a prologue and plays in about an hour. The other 3 are full cases and each take about 90 minutes to play depending on player count. It's published by Portal Games, who is sponsoring this video. I've been able to play all 4 cases that came in this game, so I'll give you an overview of what you'll see in the game and how the game works, and I'll do my best not to reveal any secrets that might spoil your fun when you play. At the end of the video, I'll compare this deduction game with other popular deduction games and share my thoughts about that. But let's begin with the overview. You have a main game board that has the investigation track and places you'll be visiting in each scenario. There are 3 main decks of cards you'll need for each scenario you play: the scene deck, the personal goal deck, and then the case deck that you'll be playing. You also have a map of Gotham that will help in your investigation. Each player chooses a character to play. Any characters not chosen become informants. Each character has abilities that they can use by spending evidence tokens. You'll also want pen and paper to take notes. That'll be pretty important to answer the questions at the end of each game. Now for the first game, the prologue, you'll read the episode introduction that's found in the prologue envelope 00. You all read that together and it sort of shows you what you need to do. But for the following cases, 1, 2, and 3, you'll all have personal goals. Got those right here. All 4 personal goals. And those will give you some backstory for your personal goal. And then as a team, you'll read the main intro for that specific case. I'm not going to reveal it because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but that will give you a short story to get you going, any rule changes or special rules, the main goal of the case, and some further leads. Now, further leads are super important in this game. It's one of the main mechanisms to get you to go around and search different areas. The further leads list card numbers that match the numbers of the case deck and a little info about each one. It's up to the players to decide where to go, what to do, and in what order to do them. Do you want to go downtown first and visit this person in the hospital, or do you want to go to GCPD or maybe the Gotham City Gazette? Lots of different locations during the cases. And these are decisions your team will have to weigh as you progress in the story. And you'll get more and more leads throughout the game. That's why it's nice to have pen and paper to keep track of all the information you're going to find along the way. When you decide what lead to follow, you move the location token, the blimp, to that location. You may need to pay a cost like an access token to even go there. Most of the time, you can gain these access tokens by spending evidence tokens from the character abilities. Also, you must advance the investigation token on the investigation track. Then, find the card in the deck and read it aloud to all the players to continue your investigation. Sometimes text on a card will tell you about information in the online database. You'll need to log into playdetective.online to access the file. For example, a card told me to enter 101 into the online database. I do so, and a file appears, and that will help us in the case. Now, there's lots of different files in the database, like newspaper articles and more. Sometimes you don't have enough evidence tokens to do what you want. You're always allowed, as a team, to advance the investigation token 1 space to immediately gain 2 evidence tokens. I'd recommend only doing that if you really need to. Once the investigation token reaches the green area, the team is allowed to end the game. But you all may wish to continue the investigation for a little longer in order to gain more information to solve the case. Make sure as a team you spend a little time recapping what you know so far. It's up to the players to decide when they feel they've uncovered enough evidence and information in order to solve the case and complete the goals. I can tell you this though, the farther the token goes down the track, the worse your score is going to be. But you sort of have to weigh that with getting the right info to answer the questions correctly. When you're ready to end the game, you'll select Final Report on the website. When you do this, there will be a series of questions that you'll need to answer. The nice thing is, though, it's multiple choice, so it's not like you're writing anything out. Depending on the characters that we're actually playing, there will maybe some personal goals that you'll need to answer in the final report too. The game will give you a score and then an epilogue to your story. You're then ready to go on to the next case. I've been able to play all of the cases in the box: prologue, guilt, nostalgia, and remorse. I would say playing with 2, 3, or 4 players will give you similar experiences, but the more players you have will definitely have more discussion and even more decision making on what leads should be followed, so that's going to make the game longer overall with more players. But usually the scenarios were around 90 minutes or more for each one. If you want to hear a little bit more of an in-depth review, you can check out our podcast, the Tantrum House Board Gaming Podcast. We'll be talking about this game on our next episode that drops on May 9th. I would say the prologue helped get you used to how the game works and is shorter overall, as it plays in about 60 minutes. The case you are trying to solve is pretty straightforward. For the main 3 cases, there are a lot of branching paths within each case, and all the cases are sort of connected. So you start with the prologue and go through in order all the way to 3. And I'd also recommend not waiting too long between playing each of the cases. That way you can remember the names of the people involved and how they're connected to the different organizations and things like that. For this video, I also wanted to give you a little comparison to other story-driven deduction type games, like the original Detective from Portal Games, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Chronicles of Crime, Detective City of Angels, and Suspects. First, if you played any of the other detective games from Portal, then this is going to be very similar in the mechanics with the cards and the database. And of course, the story is going to be totally different since you're immersed in the Batman universe. I would say most of the Everybody Lies game is taking place with the cards, and just a little with the online database, like 75% cards and 25% using the online database. Both are important to the game, don't get me wrong, you're just doing more with the cards in front of you. Whereas in a game like Chronicles of Crime, most of the game is with the app on your phone as you scan cards and you move from place to place and interact with the different people there. Now you're going to be limited by the leads you can follow in Batman Everybody Lies. Where in a game like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, you can pretty much go anywhere you want in London. It's sort of an open book in that game, and it's up to the players to figure out where they should or need to go. That can be a little frustrating sometimes, I know from experience. You'll start with a few leads in Everybody Lies, and then there will be some branching paths as you gain more and more leads throughout the game. There are still plenty of leads to follow in Batman, and you won't be able to follow all the leads. You won't have enough spots on the investigation track to get to all of them before the game ends. Now in a game like Detective City of Angels, most of the action is happening on the game board as you move around and interact with the characters there. Where in Batman, you have a map, but most of the action's in the cards and in the discussion with your team. I would say other than Detective from Portal Games, the most similar game to Batman Everybody Lies is a game called Suspects. In that game, you'll have some introductory info given, and then there's just one deck of cards to solve the case. You get information on a card, and that will give you clues about the case and access to other cards. Just like in Batman Everybody Lies, you'll be gaining information about the case and access to new cards as well, but I would say Batman's a more robust system with different types of cards, the scene cards, the personal goals, the case deck, and of course, there's the database. And there is more branching storylines in Batman too. Well, I hope that was some helpful comparisons to other deduction type games along with the overview of Batman Everybody Lies earlier in the video. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And please tell your friends about Tantrum House. Let's spread the love of board gaming. Please like and subscribe.